Welcome to USA Trending News. Who is Enola Holmes? Everything you need to know about Sherlock's sister. Let's come towards detail. The number of things Sherlock Holmes had failed to deduce about the world could fill a book. In fact, considering that his little-known sister, Enola Holmes, is, according to Nancy Springer's Apocrypha, significantly smarter and more worldly than he, perhaps the things Sherlock failed to deduce could fill just as many books as the young adult author has penned on the fictional brilliant younger woman few people recognize. In the new Netflix movie Enola Holmes, Millie Bobby Brown brings the titular teenage sister to wider acclaim in a streaming story that feels aimed at people who like a series of unfortunate events but would prefer something slightly less funny and with only one orphan. Actually, who is not exactly an orphan. In both the film and detective novels, Enola is the similarly gifted younger sibling of Mycroft and Sherlock. But because she is a young woman living at the tail end of the Victorian era, she is forced to navigate sexism and prejudice, the likes of which her brothers would never understand. In this way, Enola's story is a rallying cry for young people looking for non-male detectives who are not named Nancy Drew. Beyond that, however, is a richly specific take involving missing mothers, keepers and anti-cross diatribes. Still asking yourself, how did I not know Sherlock had a sister? Fair enough. As the Baker Street resident himself says, I cannot make bricks without clay. Give me data. Here are the essential details about Enola and how she fit into larger world of her famous cokehead older brother. Enola is not a character in Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's canon. In the original 56 short stories and 4 novels written by Arthur Conan Doyle, Sherlock Holmes has only one sibling, an older brother, Mycroft, who appears only in the Greek Interpreter, the Bruce Partington Plans, and the Final Problem among the original stories. The idea that Sherlock and Mycroft have a younger sister, in this case Enola, a finishing school defector and budding detective in her own right, who specializes in missing person cases, is entirely the creation of Nancy Springer, who began publishing the Enola Holmes novel in 2006, starting with the case of missing Marquess. The possibility of secret third Holmes sibling is the stuff of very old fan fiction. While Enola herself in Springer's creation, the old school fan theory that Mycroft and Sherlock have a secret sibling is almost old as the fandom itself. Though Doyle never used the name Sherlock Holmes in print, it is reportedly a name he considered for the fictional detective before settling on Sherlock's. William S. Baring Gold book Sherlock Holmes of the Baker Street asserts something different, that Mycroft and Sherlock may have an older brother named Sherlock who manages their family country estate. The theory was evolved on BBC series Sherlock when the name Sherlock was appropriated to describe the prison that contained Enola Holmes, who is in 4th season of that series, 2017, is revealed to be Sherlock and Mycroft's secret sister. That's right, because the Springer book was published in 2006, Enola predates the Enola season of Sherlock by 9 years. making Enola the original secret home sister, like bearing gold super old friend theory. Enola and her mother, Helena Bochman Carter, occupy the Holmes family country estate, which in Enola Holmes is called Ferndale. Millie Bobby Brown's Enola is pretty faithful to Enola of Springer's book, with two big changes. At the beginning of Springer's first Enola Holmes book, The Case of the Missing Marquess, we learn that Enola's mother has gone missing on the eve of her daughter's 14th birthday. In the movie, her age is changed to 16, probably because Brown is 16 years old in real life. As far as Enola's smarter and general detective skills go, the books and the movie give us pretty much the same character. But because this is a movie and movie things have to happen in it, there's one slightly more noticeable change in the film. Enola is trained to be a fighter by her mother and is pretty well versed in a variety of martial arts. It's not the book Enola can't handle herself, but a penchant for battle is definitely not a defining aspect of her character. Meanwhile, movie Enola said, I was taught to watch and listen. I was taught to fight. This is what my mother made me for. Overemphasizing Holmesian character's fighting skill is nothing new for film adaptations set in this beloved Victorian universe. Although Sherlock himself was noted for his ability to box some ruffian, which is the solitary cyclist, and wrestler, people using the metal art doily calls buried soup, which is the empty house. It is not as though he was beating a bad guy Batman style in every short story. And yet in the 2009 movie Sherlock Holmes, that's exactly what Robert Downey Jr.'s Sherlock seemed to do. Brown's Enola does not go full on Downey with the violence, but her Enola is much more physically active than the character is in Springer's book. Enola's relationship with Sherlock is much cozier than it is in Springer's book. Although both Mycroft and Sherlock eventually come to view Enola as an equal in Springer's sixth book. The case of the Gypsy Goodbye at the start of the first novel, Sherlock is mostly dismissive of his sister. In this way, Springer's book takes a somewhat one-note approach to Sherlock's character, casting him mainly as sexiest and ignorant of women in the extreme. At the end of first Springer's book, Sherlock says this of Enola: thoughtful and imaginative perhaps, but certainly no stranger to be weakness, the irrationality of her sex. But Henry Cavill's Sherlock in Enola Holmes is nothing like this. From the very beginning, he is supportive of Enola and attempts to help her where he can throughout the story. In the majority of the Springer books, Sherlock certainly likes Enola more than his older brother Mycroft, but their overall relationship is much chiller. In contrast, Cavill's Sherlock acts the way any big brother in a Victorian period piece might. He is aloof and brooding, but he is basically a good person. Cavill's Sherlock is not a terrible interpretation of the character from the book, either Doyle's or Springer, but he is little more low-key than the most on-screen Sherlocks. He smiles a lot, he barely smokes, he never mentions shooting up his 7% solution of cocaine, and his best friend Watson is nowhere in sight. In Springer's novel, Dr. Watson is very much around. In the case of Bizarre Books, Enola even gives Watson an assist. But in the end, Enola Holmes book series takes 5 installments for Sherlock and his sister to make peace. In this movie, their estrangement happens mostly off camera, and from the moment Cavill saunters in, you know he's going to be nice Sherlock. And it works, sure, but perhaps the arresting things about Nancy Spring's books is that Sherlock Holmes is perceived, at least for a good chunk of the series, as kind of bad guy, and Enola stand in great contrast to him. In Enola Holmes, the Netflix movies, he is mostly just a woke Victorian Superman, which in a film that is not about Sherlock anyway is probably fine. Thanks for watching. If you have not subscribed my channel, then press the red button and subscribe USA Trending News. Thank you. Bye bye.